Hey guys, Mike from Lunch Money Comics here. Going off of a tip from one of my viewers, I am back in Plainville, Connecticut at a monthly comic book show called Cliff's Con. I've never been here before. Let's go check it out.
First raffle, 10:30. Cash prizes to spend at the gun. First raffle, last three numbers. 7, 1.
All right, guys, so I had a pretty great little Comic-Con right then. I got some excellent books that have been on my want list for a long time. I can't wait to go home and show you guys what I got. Hey, so I hope you guys had a great Christmas and that Santa got you all a whole bunch of comic books. So that was Cliff's Con in Plainville, Connecticut. I was actually there for two reasons. One of my viewers tipped me off to it and I wanted to check it out. And the other one was that a little while ago, I posted a video about finding a whole bunch of old toys and comics in my great aunt's attic. And although I wasn't using my channel as a platform to sell things, a lot of people contacted me about the toys on social media. And, thank you to all of you who showed an interest in it. I got a really great response. But I was very apprehensive about shipping a lot of these toys. There were a lot of them and in lots of big boxes. So I was kind of looking local. Well, one of the people who watched my channel was a toy collector, and they were roughly within driving distance. So this person contacted me. We kind of came to an agreement for a lot of the toys, and then we're trying to find a good way to like kind of meet up. Well, it just so happened to be that the next day I was going to go to Cliffs Con, and it was sort of a central location for both of us to go to. I suggested it, and they said, sure, I'll meet you there. What's really cool about this person, who I will definitely remain nameless, this person actually deals in art. Specifically comic book art, specifically, original comic book art, and they were actually personal friends with Mr. Neil Adams before he passed. This guy also knew like John Byrne and stuff. So he actually sent me a picture of him with Neil Adams, and when he came, he actually brought some comic books, including a Batman 251, very famous Neil Adams Joker cover. And listen, guys, if these toys were actually mine to sell and not my cousin's, then, I absolutely would have traded for that book. But, as it was, I was able to take some cash and actually give it to my cousin and great aunt, which they were very happy about. And then we got to check out this comic book show. Now, this comic book show, guys, I've been to a lot of comic book shows just this past year. Lots of small ones of similar size. And the thing is with these shows is, they're only like half comic books. The other half is usually like original art or, writers, toys, collectibles, even like sport cards, things like that. And, there's only, a handful of comic book dealers. Not the case here. This was pretty much all comic book dealers. They all seemed to know each other. Also, it was a really fun atmosphere. They had like raffles, like on every like half an hour, like for cash prizes. They had coffee and donuts. They had a little like a kitchen where they had like lunch. Really, really cool Comic-Con. Definitely a place I want to go back. And here's the best part. They have this comic book convention on the last Sunday of every single month. They also do like a sports card one on like the third Saturday of every month. But I tell you guys, this is not super close to my house, but close enough that it's dangerous for this to happen every month. I could see myself going, maybe not every month, but every couple of months. Fantastic. Now, as you can tell from the footage, I actually went there on the last Sunday of November, but I'm posting this video right before the new year. And the reason is because their next one isn't at the end of December. It's actually on January 1st. It's on New Year's Day. So as long as you guys are in like the New England or New York area and you didn't party too hard on New Year's Eve, absolutely New Year's Day, this would be an awesome show to go to. I'm planning on trying to go to it. Just an awesome comic book show, guys. I can't say enough good things about it. So as usual, I will put a link down in the description to the information for Cliffs Con so you can go check it out for yourself. Now let's talk about the comic books I got. So because this comic book show was all comic book vendors, really good ones I might add, all in this small space in a VFW, and all the books are really well organized, I knew this was a great opportunity to really knock some comic books off of my wish list. I always keep a list on my phone of the books I'm looking for, and when you're in this nice small area with lots of comic books, it's really easy to just hit a vendor, go through the boxes. If you find an issue you want, great, you get it. If not, you just move on to the next guy until you find it. It's also a great way to ensure that you get good deals. If you find a comic book that you want, there might very well be another vendor in this room selling that comic book cheaper. So because of that, you can shop around and make sure you get the absolute best price for the comic book that you want. On top of that, I don't often sell comic books, I always say that, but I did sell some comic books recently, and I had a little bit of money burning a hole in my pocket. So lunch money comics, not so much in this case. I did spend some coin, but because of that, I ended up with a fantastic stack of comic books that I've wanted for a real long time. I checked them off my list, and I'm really excited to show them to you guys. So I say it all the time on my channel, I am a huge Uncanny X-Men fan. I collect all their first appearances. I collect, whenever someone joins the team, anything of significance really. But I'm also trying to fill in the entire run from basically 94 all the way up to like 300, basically anything that Chris Claremont wrote. So this book that I got here checks a lot of my want list boxes. This is the Uncanny X-Men number 199. This is from 1985, written, of course, by Chris Claremont, art by John Romita Jr. And the significance of this is the first time that Rachel Summers becomes the Phoenix. Rachel Summers is an alternate dystopian universe version of Jean Grey and Cyclops' daughter. She first shows up specifically in the Days of Future Past storyline as a woman named Rachel. So she first appears in Uncanny X-Men 141. And she comes over to the main Marvel universe. And in this issue here, she starts channeling the Phoenix Force. So really cool cover by John Romita Jr. Pretty awesome. I like this character in her own right. Not only is she a longtime member of the X-Men, but she was also one of the premier members of Excalibur, which is another team I really liked in the late 80s and early 90s. pretty awesome. There's also another significance to this book. A few videos ago, I mentioned the Long Shot series in the character Spiral and how that character eventually joined Mystique's Freedom Force. Well, this book here is the foundation of Mystique's Freedom Force. Essentially, it is the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants renamed. Probably a good name change. You know, if you have evil in the name of your team, it sort of tells people you're up to no good. So this is the first appearance of Freedom Force, including the character Spiral. So really cool book. Very high grade. They had this listed as like a 9.6, and I ended up getting it for $10. So for a really high grade, great cover X-Men book that fills my run, very happy to spend $10 on this one. So these next two comic books I got from the same vendor, and I found out afterwards that I had actually unwittingly bought comic books from this person in the past. A little while ago, I did a video on Putnam, Connecticut, and specifically I talked about a place called Jeremiah's Antiques that had a really great comic book selection there. Well, come to find out that this vendor, J&S Collectibles, in addition to doing comic book shows where he shows off like his really nice slab books, this is sort of like his permanent brick and mortar setup. So I bought comic books from him when I was in Putnam, Connecticut. I'll make sure to put a link to his information down in the description. But when I was in Putnam, Connecticut, I found a really cool book, and it was Tomb of Dracula number 44. The significance of this is it's the first meetup and battle between Dracula and Doctor Strange. Two very cool characters. And I mentioned in that video that this was only part 1 of their battle. Part 2 was continued in Doctor Strange number 14. So this vendor had very well organized comic books. I went through the Doctor Strange books. I passed on a couple, including a Marvel Premiere number 3. But I did find Doctor Strange number 14, part 2 of the battle between the two. This is written by Steve Englehart. Art by Gene Colan is from 1976. And yes, this continues the battle between the two. So very happy to finish this storyline. I'm definitely interested in reading both of these. This is a high grade copy, and I also got it for $10. So really great deal there. So the other book I got from this vendor might look familiar to people who watch my channel. I've mentioned in the past how much I like the Squadron Supreme, essentially Marvel's knockoff of the DC's Justice League. And their first appearance in cameo form was Avengers 69, which is a book that I ended up getting a few months ago at another comic book show. I ended up actually trading for it, trading comic books I got at flea markets and yard sales. And I was very happy to have this book at the time. Not only is it the first appearance of the Squadron Sinister, essentially the antagonistic version of the Squadron Supreme. You get the first appearance of Hyperion in here, Nighthawk, Dr. Spectrum, the Wizard. But you also have the first appearance of the Grand Master, who anyone who saw Thor Ragnarok, the Grand Master was played by Jeff Goldblum. You also have the Uncanny Growing Man here right on the cover with Kang. Very cool comic book by a cover by Sal Buscema, I think. Really great. Happy to have this one, but it has its issues. It has some color breaks. It's not in the best shape, so I've been on the lookout for a better copy of it. Lo and behold, this vendor had 2 of them. He had a nicer grade one at $89, and he also had this one at $57. Why is this one lower? Well, you see right there, there was some sort of like grease pencil or crayon in the letter V going down into Kang. And otherwise, though, it's in really great shape. So I sent a picture of this to my friend Jeff at Comic Spa to see if he could clean it off. And he's cleaned up very similar things from my other books. And he said, yes, I might be able to clean it off, but you have to see if it like would smudge, if I can move it at all. So I bought the book first, and once I was back in my car, I took it out of the bag, and I kind of rubbed it a little bit, and it started to come off. So I have very high hopes that Comic Spot will be able to fix this up, and I will have a better copy of this book. Why do I have 2? Well, yes, I'm getting a better copy, but also when I have a book like this I really like to have 2 of them. That way I can trade or sell the other one, and I don't feel so bad because I know I have a better copy. Also, I guess it's a little bit of a spec buy. You know, I know they've been talking about the Squadron Supreme, you know, coming to movies or the MCU for a long time now. Maybe that's the case and that this book will go up. I just like the fact that it's a multi-key and it has this fantastic Sal Buscema cover. So very happy to add my second one. I got it for $50. Very happy to have it. Cool book. Okay, these last couple of books are great. So I've been mentioning on my channel recently, I was trying to finish the entire Dark Phoenix saga. I had all of them, but one, number 133, I've been looking for it. I found it at the comic book show, and I got it for a great price. Here it is, Uncanny X-Men number 133. This is from 1980, of course, by Chris Claremont, John Byrne. And the significance of this is, not only is it part of the Dark Phoenix saga, but it is billed as the first solo Wolverine cover, with him without the team. Awesome John Byrne cover, right, guys? I've heard some people say this is the first solo Wolverine story. That's not true. The rest of the X-Men are in here, trust me. But Wolverine's sort of on his own little like solo mission trying to save them. The other significance is that this is the first time it's confirmed he has a healing ability. I guess it was alluded to in earlier issues, but in this one it's pretty obvious. He gets like shot and he's fine. So awesome comic book here. I got it for $50. Wow, what a great deal. It's in fantastic shape. So I think I got a great deal at $50. And with this, I have finished my entire Dark Phoenix story arc. So here we go. We have the entire Dark Phoenix saga complete. I debated doing a separate video where I talk about like storylines that I think are really important or might be fun to talk about on YouTube. But I figure since I have the entire collection in my hand right now, I would go through them really quick for those of you who are interested. In general, it's considered to run from Uncanny X-Men number 129 up to 138. All written by Chris Claremont and John Byrne, who also did the art, and all are from 1980. Some people will argue you can go back to like X-Men 100 and 101, the first time Jean Grey becomes Phoenix, but in general, it's considered to be these issues here where she's corrupted by the Hellfire Club, becomes the Dark Phoenix, causes lots of destruction, and ultimately dies, and Cyclops leaves the team. All of these are in really high grade. I'm quite proud of them, except for 129, which is the one that's probably worth the most money. So here we go. I'll go through them quick. Number 129 is your first appearance of Kitty Pryde and Emma Frost, the White Queen. Pretty big book in its own right. Number 130 is the first appearance of Dazzler. You see right there on the cover. Also the first full appearance of Sebastian Shaw, the Black King. We have number 131. This is the first cover appearance of Emma Frost right there. This is also when Jean Grey starts falling into the Black Queen persona because of Mastermind manipulating her. Number 132 is the first full appearance of the Hellfire Club. You see right there on the cover. The first appearance of all their members. Also the first appearance of Tessa, who becomes the character Sage, an X-Man in her own right later on. 133, which I just talked about, first solo Wolverine cover. Also the first time his healing ability is demonstrated. We have number 134. This one here is the first full appearance of Dark Phoenix. She appears in her full new uniform at the end of this comic book and goes crazy. And here she is, first cover appearance by Dark Phoenix right here in 135. This is also the first appearance of Senator Robert Kelly, who is a longtime thorn in the side of the X-Men. And this is the issue where she goes really crazy and she ends up destroying an entire star system, the Dabari system, killing billions of life forms and basically causes an intergalactic war. Number 136, Jean Grey regains control. The X-Men are essentially trying to help her. And then, of course, we get number 137. This is sort of the climax of the story. This is where, the Shi'ar Empire and the Kree and the Skrulls, three alien races that really don't like each other, all allied together to stop the Dark Phoenix. Ultimately, at the end here, Dark Phoenix, Jean Grey regains control of herself and she ends up taking her own life. Very controversial storyline, but awesome cover art. And of course, we have the final one, which is number 138. This is actually the funeral of Jean Grey, and this is where Cyclops leaves the team, and it's sort of a big paradigm shift for the X-Men. When I was a kid, I had the classic X-Men issue, the reprint of this. It was my most read comic book when I was a kid. I read it over and over and over again. And the reason is because this whole issue is Cyclops reflecting on the history of the X-Men while at Jean Grey's funeral. And as a kid, I didn't have all of these comic books, going all the way back to X-Men number 1. So I would just read that to learn the whole history of the X-Men. It was a great way to sort of summarize their entire history. I love that comic book, and this is the actual copy of it. So finally finished Dark Phoenix Saga, guys. Like I said, I kind of work on runs, all the X-Men runs, but I like finishing storylines first, and I'm really ecstatic. Couldn't be happier to finally finish this one off. Okay, let's get to the big one, guys. Like I said, I had some money burning a hole in my pocket, and I was doing such a good job of checking off books off my list that I've wanted for a long time. I saw this book. I got a great deal on it, and I had to jump on it. Listen, I've already talked about Rachel Summers as the Phoenix. I've talked about the Dark Phoenix Saga. So let's go whole hog and go right back to Uncanny X-Men 101, the first appearance of Jean Grey as the Phoenix. It's also the first appearance of Black Tom Cassidy. It's from 1976, written by Chris Claremont, art by Dave Cockrum. One of the most famous and iconic X-Men covers of all time. Listen, I've talked in the past about slab books. I don't love them. I really don't like them for X-Men books because I like those in raw form. I still look at them. I made an exception here. This is such an iconic, awesome cover. I'm happy to have this one slabbed. This vendor here, it's the same guy I actually got the Avengers from and the Doctor Strange book from. He had two of these. He had this one here in a 6.5 and the other one in a 7.5. The 7.5 actually had some writing and red pen right in the trade dress there. I think it said Max. And then he had this one, and honestly, side by side, I couldn't tell much of a difference condition-wise. This one looks great. In fact, even looking at the grader notes, I'm having a hard time seeing why this is a 6.5. This book is in excellent condition. He had a price of $400, and I negotiated this for $350. I actually almost got it cheaper because I almost traded Another slab book I have, Star Wars 68, which I got at a yard sale. I almost traded that to get some money off. Decided to hold on to it, but still, even at $350, guys, I am really happy to add this book to my collection. Very happy about it. My sister, her favorite character is Phoenix, so I kind of teased her a little bit, make her a little jealous. Happy to have it, even in slab form, guys. Tell me what you think of this book. I think this book is awesome. The cover's great. I think that $350 price point, I think is pretty spot on. I think it was a good deal, and I'm happy to add this to my shelf behind me. So, yeah, big Phoenix Day, I guess, at Cliffs Con in Connecticut. So there you go, guys. I got some pretty awesome books. Yes, I spent a little bit of money and not so much lunch money comics on this day at Cliffs Con, but sometimes you just have to build the collection the old-fashioned way, and I'm really happy to add these to my collection. Let me know down in the comments what you think of my pickups and what I paid for them. Definitely, if you're able to check out Cliffs Con, definitely do so. I'll put a link down in the description to the information. Even if you couldn't make it on New Year's Day, like I said, they have this convention every single month. As usual, if you like this sort of stuff, go down and hit that like button. Leave me a comment. I love reading them. Feel free to subscribe. You can find me on Instagram under Lunch Money Comics IG. In the meantime, I hope you guys keep finding comic books in strange and unusual places and comic book shows. And until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching.